Honda dealer welcomes you to our biggest clearance sale of the year, the Happy Honda Days sales event. Get year-end clearance pricing on over 900 new Hondas, plus a complimentary lifetime powertrain warranty with every new Honda. Save thousands on your new Honda right here at Team Honda.
Hi, business owners. Phase 3. Woohoo! But do your customers know you're back? Well, that's where the Clarence Bug Show and Pelican Broadcasting can help. Right now, we've got great rates on advertising packages to help you get the word out. Shoot me an email at bugsclarence@gmail.com. Or better yet, call me up. I'd love to talk with you. 225-485-6839. Let's get together and make Phase 3 the best it can possibly be.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people too.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
The Clarence Bug Show here is hoping that all is still well with you and yours in your world since the last time we had the opportunity to spend some time with you 24 hours roughly ago. Kind of in a state of flux in today's show. We had scheduled to start the show on a different note, and apparently there are some logistical problems with the guest. So if as we go through the show today, we make adjustments on the fly, we hope that you will bear with us in that regard. So in shifting gears, we start today's show talking about what all of America is talking about today. The events in our nation's capital yesterday. There is and will be a lot of speculation across the length and breadth of this grand republic of ours as to whether or not yesterday's takeover of the Capitol building was solely due to Donald Trump supporters or whether or not it was a group of Antifa infiltrators who joined the group of protesters. Only a thorough investigation will give the American people the answers we deserve. What I do know is that there were estimates of as many as 800,000 to 1 million people in Washington to take part in the protest. And if in fact that was their goal, Washington, D.C. would not be standing today. Now, that being said, we are a nation of laws, and violence only serves to undermine the processes that we have in place to deal with grievances that we have with government and the decisions that it makes affecting our lives. Now, that being said, the mainstream media, social media, and the politicians, liberals in particular, and rhinos, looking to fundamentally change America would be wise to pay attention. There is and has been building for a while in this country an anger over the collective collusion between the mainstream media, social media, and liberals looking to hoodwink the American public. Yesterday's coverage by the media of the events in our nation's capital was a classic example. If the shoe had been on the other foot, we know the mainstream media would have painted the picture of being mostly peaceful protests. We've seen it over and over and over, time and time again, with riots in Portland, Seattle, back in August in D.C., New York, Baltimore, St. Louis, and other cities. It's their treatment of that story and countless others that have people totally and completely fed up. Most Americans I know don't want to see violence in the streets, but you reach a point where frustration with what is an obvious concerted effort to rob this country of the things that made us and do make us great, it boils over at some point. Order was restored quickly yesterday. And while most people are hoping that this is the last we will see of this type behavior, my gut tells me it won't. This will not be the last time. Now, the reasoning behind this, as long as we have a media and politicians who ignore or completely outright lie about important stories for the American public and how these things affect our lives, it will happen again. When we see the media completely ignore stories or lie to us, like what happened in Benghazi, where real Americans lost their lives, when they ignore or lie to us about stories regarding 30,000 missing emails, when they lie to us or ignore completely stories about spying on a legitimate presidential campaign, when they ignore and lie to us about stories of feeding questions ahead of a presidential debate to a favorite candidate, Donna Brazile, when they lie to us and downplay stories of a chance meeting on the tarmac between Bill Clinton and Attorney General Loretta Lynch, whose department is supposedly investigating Hillary Clinton, and then Attorney General Comey comes out scathingly, blisteringly condemning her use of a private email server before not pressing any charges. Then, of course, there's the dirty dog Steele dossier, paid for by the Democrats, and the whole Russia collusion thing, that fiasco, not to mention impeachment, 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 and of course, the demonization of two Supreme Court nominees and the denigrating of all conservatives who supported them. And of course, most recently, the complete and total blackout of the Hunter Biden laptop story, not to mention the denigrating, the calling of ugly names to anyone with the reading comprehension of a fifth grader looking at the overwhelming evidence that this election was not conducted fairly. My gut tells me if this was not Antifa infiltrators yesterday, it won't be long in coming from real American patriots. Now, for the record, it pains me greatly to say this. It truly does. But what pains me even more are the circumstances that have led us to this point in time in America. Imagine, if you will, a group of people with an obvious agenda telling you you're crazy, even though you are as sane as the day is long and you see things with utter clarity, and yet they constantly tell you over and over and over again, you're crazy. How long do you think it would be before you would lash out and tell these clowns, I'm not effing crazy? How long do you think it would be before you would lash out or do something that you think needs to be done to set these folks straight? That's where we are now, America. And real Americans are not going to continue to put up with this crap much longer. One of the amazing things that I love about this human existence is language and what I called the depth of its spectrum. There are times when a simple utterance will tell you everything you need to know. Those of you with kids, those of us who have ever babysat kids, particularly toddlers, you know that when they are out of eyesight, but within earshot, when you hear, uh-oh, you know automatically. English teachers, here we go in 3, 2, 1. Something ain't right. You don't know what the circumstances are, but you know you better get in there because something ain't right. Just by the simple utterance from a child of, uh-oh. But there are other times when more eloquence is required to do the situation justice. The marvelous thing about eloquence in speech is that it's timeless. And ironically, when it's done right, not only does eloquence in speech withstand the test of time, but it becomes more and more relevant with every passing day. For example, and I hope I can do this justice, when in the course of human events, it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them. A decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to effect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. This was written 240 years ago in our Declaration of Independence. And ironically, this is where many people think we are yet again in America. Now, understand me thoroughly, in the words of my late illustrious band director, Dr. Isaac Patty Greggs, and in the vernacular of the streets, don't get it twisted. I am not advocating anything. I'm simply making an observation of where we are in this time in America. And I will leave you with this for the end of segment 1. It's an old adage that you're well familiar with. Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. Now you know how I feel. I'd love to have your thoughts. What went through your mind watching yesterday's events? Do you think this is the last we've seen of it? And what does this bode for our country? Let's talk. Call me up, 225-831-1029. The airwaves now belong to you. Let's talk. First break of hour 1. It's only 1 hour, but that's okay. Nice recovery, Bugs. We're going to find out what you think. That's next on the Clarence Bugs Show, here and only here on the Pelican. Stay close.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back.
Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystonecountryClub.com.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with the Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
And Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Get 0.9% financing for 60 months on every new 21 Mazda, plus 90 days deferred payments during the season of inspiration at Baton Rouge's Mazda dealer, Team Mazda on Airline.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. You know, one of the things that I enjoy so very much about being in media and having done this for going on now my 41st year is in a format like this, we have the opportunity to talk with people, regular, everyday, hardworking Americans. There is something to be said about trotting in front of the camera, this politician, this news person, this celebrity. But at the end of the day, I am no more enamored by anything than I am the opinions of the American people. We oftentimes hear from regular folks, Clarence, and people don't ever ask me my opinion about nothing. They just go out and do what they want to do. Well, today is your opportunity. I would love to know what you think about yesterday's events and what went through your mind as you watched all of this unfold. Have we seen the last of it? And what does all this bode for this country that so very many of us love and adore? 225-831-1029 gets you aboard. We start on line one. Mark, good morning, my friend, and how are you today, sir?
How are you, Clarence?
It's still a great day to be an American, Mark.
Yeah, but we got problems that's very, very difficult. I'll go back 50 years.
Okay.
Do you remember Nikita Khrushchev at the United Nations in 1964?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember the fight that Ronald Reagan put up against the communists when he was president for 2 terms?
Yes, sir.
You take the actions of Antifa, the violent actions in the protest. Mm-hmm. You take yesterday's violent actions in the protest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about protest peaceful. I'm talking about the violence connected with it.
Right.
If you take all of this combination, who is laughing the loudest today?
Those that hate this country and want to see it ruined.
Russia.
Yep.
With China. Korea.
Venezuela.
They are thrilled to death at what they see, and the problem we got, Clarence, it's not over.
That was going to be the next question. Is this the last we've seen of this sort of thing in America?
No, sir. These demonstrations with Antifa and the violence connected with it, and Russia, not Russia, but the protest yesterday, not the protest peaceful, the violence connected with it, we're playing right into their hands.
What does your gut tell you, Mark? When this all started, and those who, quote, joined in, did they go there with that intent, or were they so fed up with everything going on these days that they simply got, I don't know, for lack of a better phrase, caught up in the emotion of the moment?
What I think is this, Clarence, and I saw it yesterday on television because I was watching intently. Some of the experts have said this, that the Capitol was surprised yesterday for the lack of intelligence information. The same thing would apply to Al-Tifa.
Right.
If we had the information and we used the resources and planned for it, we could have eliminated the violence in both of them.
Well, you know, Mark, I would like to think that, but at the end of the day, I noticed that in the mayor's call for the National Guard, last number I saw was 1,100 guardsmen will be deployed. That crowd yesterday, by some estimates, was 800,000 to 1 million people.
Correct.
You're going to need a heck of a lot more than 1,100 National Guardsmen if, in fact, everybody there decided that they were going to act the way these relatively few, comparatively speaking, individuals did. Are we looking in the near future at tens of thousands of armed troops in the streets of America?
I would, excuse me, I would not be surprised to see that.
What does that bode for this country, Mark?
Annihilation.
How do we head this off?
Sir?
How do we stop this? How do we head this off? How do we rectify this?
Don't laugh at me, Clarence. There's only one person that can put a stop to what's going on today. Almighty God.
So are you telling me, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you telling me we have passed the point of no return where the American citizens can rein this in?
Once you look at what the Democrats are doing with the group of them, and read about what they want to do. We've all read about it for 3 years about what they want to change,
right,
and what they've already changed.
Right.
And now they've got complete control of the Senate, complete control of the House, and complete control of the White House.
Mark, thank you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
What else are we going to do?
Gotcha. Thank you, my friend. In watching all this unfold yesterday, and being a longtime member of the media, I already knew how the mainstream media was going to treat this. And it didn't take long for them to show their true colors. Look at Twitter, quote, just effing shoot them all. You look at headlines from all across the country. Actress calls to expel GOP senators contesting 2020 election results. You see headlines like Liz Cheney, the president formed the mob. He lit the flame. And on and on and on. And of course, it's indicative of the mainstream media and their MO, how you cause a problem, and then when people react to it, you blame the people reacting to the problem that you caused. For those of us that understand the agenda and how they are going about pursuing said agenda, it's no surprise. But sadly, the percentage of people in this country that have been indoctrinated, not educated, mind you, indoctrinated, is scary. And unfortunately, that is how these individuals in the mainstream media, social media, etc., that is how they are able to pull off things of this magnitude. Again, we are a nation of laws. But human nature is such that it was best summed up, I think, by two posts that I ran across yesterday in watching the coverage of these events unfold in our nation's capital and reading message boards and the like. One said, quote, "Told you, don't poke the bear." The other, I thought, was very poignant, very succinct, although not quite as much as the first one, said what we witnessed yesterday was an employer having a chat with the employees. I'll let that sink in for those of you that have been indoctrinated as opposed to educated and don't have a true appreciation for the fact that we are the bosses and these folks work for us. I thought it was insightful, the post that said what we witnessed yesterday, and this is Antifa folks aside, what we are witnessing is employers having a chat with the employees. I will leave to you to decide whether or not what we witnessed yesterday can be attributed to an agenda, infiltration, whether or not you attribute it to, as my dear friend Marty is so fond of saying, birthing pains in this republic. I will leave to you to decide whether or not what we witnessed yesterday was simply a part of the natural evolution of a free society. What I do know, and I can state without any hesitation, reservation, or equivocation, the fact still remains that we are blessed beyond belief to live in a country and be a part of a republic that we can still express our grievances with government without fear of armed reprisal. Some of you may say, Clarence, I agree, but how long it remains that way remains to be seen. That, my friends, would be a valid argument. But it's also the most pressing reason why we should do everything within our power to be sure that this representative republic, not this democracy, every time you say that, you show proof positive that you slept through civics class. It is yet another glaring example of why we should do everything within our power to ensure that this representative republic remains intact. Bottom of the hour break. Let me get this done. We'll come back. We'll talk more with you right where you've got it, here on the Clarence Bugg Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
Got termites? Get Premier Pest. PremierPestServices.com.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Frugier Jr., and I am a general dentist at Frugier Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Jaguar Nation, we need your help in masking up Louisiana.
Mask help us slow the spread of COVID-19.
During this time, we must continue to wear a mask. Wash your hands and practice social distancing.
It's important that we continue to abide by the CDC's guidelines to stop the spread.
Jaguar Nation, we challenge you to mask up.
Go Jags!
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
At Team Toyota, Toyotathon is underway. It's your chance to save during our biggest sale of the year. Get our lowest prices and our lowest payments on every new Toyota. Plus, get a complimentary lifetime powertrain warranty with every new Toyota. Right now at Team Toyota.
Caught spiders? Premier Pest Services.
Welcome back to today's edition of the Clarence Bug Show. If you were with us at the very start of the show, I told you that today's show was going to be fluid in that I was expecting a very esteemed gentleman to be with us to start the show. Didn't quite work out that way. But it's live television, and you know, these things happen. It's the COVID-19 era, so you adjust on the fly and you make it work. Joining me for this segment, and I've got to introduce this by saying first and foremost, he is the general manager of WLFT Television, Dr. Lucas Fry. But what spurred me to call him was that I saw a promo on WLFT a couple of weeks ago, and it left me absolutely giddy. Now listen, I know what y'all saying. Clarence, a black man is not supposed to be giddy. I was giddy, okay? And I don't mind telling y'all. It announced a 3-hour block of Looney Tunes cartoons, the stuff that we boomers grew up on. I'm talking Daffy Duck, Yosemite Sam, Bugs Bunny, Popeye, all of the cartoons that in today's politically correct world, you could never think about producing, much less feeding to a mass audience for consumption. When I saw this, I couldn't wait for it to roll around. So I thought we'd have Dr. Fry come in and talk a little bit about it. Dr. Fry, let's start first with who is Dr. Lucas Fry and how did he end up in Baker, Louisiana?
Car broke down.
That has got to be the best answer I have ever heard to how did an individual end up where you are? Car broke down.
Had to get it fixed somewhere, so yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, we were, I was running I built a TV station down in Charleston, South Carolina for a church, and we were on a winter vacation and had come through here on a motor coach.
Right.
And we actually saw the crosses at Bethany and then went down to New Orleans for the first time in our marriage and parked our coach there for a couple of days. And then a week later, I got a phone call from this station saying, we're the people you saw the crosses. I'm like, okay, happen to have just been in your town. And they said, well, would you come down and consider helping us out? So, yes, that's what brought me to town, was to revamp a TV station. In the past 30 years, television stations have been acquired by churches, and churches would quickly program them with Joyce Myers and all the traditional televangelists, and the little people at home would watch the televangelist, write a check, send it to the televangelist, and then all of a sudden the local TV station goes, how come we have no money?
Right.
So they would try their praise-a-thons and their telethons, and I happened to work for the largest entity in the world as far as global impact of broadcasting for religious broadcasting. And TBN was we took in basically $1 million a minute when we were running that was the goal.
Right.
When we ran praise-a-thons, telethon, what do you want to call them? And it is a business, and you have to generate a profit in order to stay on the air. So what's happened now, as the giants got bigger and the smaller stations that were independently owned by the stations started to suffer, we've seen this pattern that we're trying to find out how can we still make it a religious entity, family friendly, and everybody appreciate. Safest bet, go back to the 60s. I mean, back then life was simpler, life was easier. At least we think it was, as the children of that era. But our parents had their just due, and it was a time that has led us to where we're at now in society. I mean, the problems that existed back then were no different than what is happening today. But the programming on television was an escapism, and there was only three. I mean, there was NBC, CBS, and ABC. That was it. There was no one else. So we had this FCC entity telling us, this is the law of the land, and you will not say any of these 7 words on television, of which a few comedians made a fortune off of those 7 words. But, and you can go back and study that. I'm sure that it would be easy to find your comedians that broke that barrier, shall we say.
George Carlin comes to mind.
So when we get past Richard Pryor and a few other people, we realize that the advent of another programming entity came aboard, and that really changed the moral compass, and that's called cable television.
Was there anything in particular that you saw about this area that led you to believe it would be conducive to success in the arena that you just mentioned?
To understand the question,
what made you think family programming, religious programming, melding the two would work in this area?
Well, Baton Rouge is no different than any other town, and I've had the pleasure of actually working in multiple cities, but that's the life of a broadcaster and a producer. So when I wound up in Baton Rouge, it really was I don't think I've ever seen an area that was so economically depressed and socially depressed as Louisiana. And something tugged at your heartstrings and just said, this is the place that you can help improve. And boy, in 10 years that I've been here, I have seen the gamut from riots to murder to killings to escalations to floods. And it always amazed me that when the flood hit, and being a big part of that, Bethany, of course, and we had a lot of flooding there. When it hit, we were in the middle of basically white against black. There was riots everywhere. We could all go back and remember that. But the thing that you really need to remember is when God said, hey, shut up and listen. And he sent the water. And brother, because I was right there on the front lines, right up in Baker with boats in our yard, helping people. And white and black it didn't matter. It was survival, kind of like COVID's done to everybody now. It's like, hey, shut up and listen to me. You know? So I think it's a wake-up call for everybody. But to get back to your question, I'm sorry I deviated. The programming back then was so innocent because we had the FCC saying these 7 words will not be used, and this is your programming line. I mean, whether it was cleavage or whatever, it didn't matter. It was, Mary Ann on Gilligan's Isle was every boy's dream.
Or Ellie Mae Clampett.
Or I Dream of Jeannie. I mean, we all had we had our sex symbols, quote, of that era, but they were just that. They were a symbol of that type of lifestyle. They weren't something that was constantly shoved down your throat.
Yeah.
So.
How bothersome is it to you that so much of media has abandoned any semblance of a moral compass? And is that simply the cross we bear for being a free society?
No, it's not a cross we bear as a free society. It is a moral exchange that stopped happening. And it comes down to parenting. I mean, you could go back and create all these scenarios that have led us to where we're at.
Right.
But as far as broadcasting and television, it is simply because the demand of the people said, I want more than what the 3 are giving us, and cable gave them that.
Right.
And it gave them those inroads to all that programming that had no qualms about crossing over those lines of vanity and properness.
I'm watching this wonderful walk down memory lane of Looney Tunes with Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and Yosemite Sam and Popeye and the whole nine. And it occurred to me, there was more violence in these cartoons than many shows on cable these days. And yet, for us boomers, example, I attended Glen Oaks Senior High School, second year of integration in Baton Rouge. And there were any number of fights, there were any number of confrontations between blacks and whites. But to get to the school, if you went through the student parking lot, there were more shotguns and long rifles in the gun racks of the pickup trucks in the student parking lot than you could count. And yet, never once, in all the fights, all the disturbances, all the disagreements, did it ever cross anyone's mind to go to the parking lot, retrieve a weapon, steal a weapon, and go in and shoot up the school? What's different these days, Dr. Fry?
I could take that one step further because it really hits home with me because I grew up in Kansas, not the South.
Right.
Neutral state, whatever you want to call.
Right.
It was very limited as far as integration. We had Yellow Freight was in town, which a lot of the people employed, including my father as a truck driver. They were integrated. They had a lot of black drivers, black dock workers. Thus, we had a few families in school that we became friends with.
Right.
But we never looked at them as being any different than us. I mean, it was because it was a natural society in southeast Kansas that just wasn't that racism that you all had to deal with down here.
Right.
Case in point about the guns.
Okay.
You're looking at a man that in his early years, he was going to be a professional gunsmith. I had my own gun shop at the age of 14. I had my own FFL license with my father at the age of 16. So I was working on automatic weapons for the Kansas City Police Department at the age of 16 in my own gun shop in downtown Columbus, Kansas. Okay, now, and ironically, where did I learn that? I learned that from Harold Stocking, who was the instructor in automotive class, was a master class gunsmith.
Wow.
I took his class for the 3 years I was in high school before jumping to college, and I got straight F's in auto mechanics. But this is the way the day would go.
Right.
I would drive to school. They would go into class. We'd do band. We'd do jazz band. Go to auto mechanics class. He would start a film for everybody else. Say, get the guns. I'd go out to the car, bring in a whole bunch of weapons, including AR-15s and everything else that he was teaching me how to work on and master. And we would work on those inside the school.
Wow.
And we would fire them inside the school.
Get out.
And work on. Of course we did. But that's the difference. And if you was to say that was going to happen in today's society,
God forbid.
Yeah, it's just. And I would like to know, when was the first shooting? Was it Sandy Hook? Was it long before that? Was there? When did all this really change? The kids started taking the weapons they were already packing at school and start using them.
Right.
Because like you, I'd never heard of that in the 70s when I was in school.
Yeah. And Marty, I know I'm going to run a little long. Bear with me here. I had the benefit, my father wore the uniform of the United States Army for 27 years.
Ah.
And as a result of his military service, I, being an Army brat, was born in Würzburg, Germany, went back for 2 years in 1969 to Kaiserslautern, aka K-Town. And living on base, we only had one school, and it was for all the children of service members. So I had an opportunity, because of his military service, to live with, play with, go to school with, and come to an understanding of all races, creeds, and cultures. So when integration started here, it was nothing for me because I'd already been exposed to this. And I firmly believe that if in our country, as the Israelis do, when you turn 18 years of age, you are obligated to render 2 years of service to your country.
Right.
Because Louisiana, speaking of, is one of the places, I saw a statistic somewhere that says we have the highest percentage of people who've never lived anyplace else. So this is all we know. We have no working knowledge of the fact that there's a different way to do things. Other people do things differently, and it doesn't have to be this way. Our time is short. I've got to have you. I've got to have you back. Oh, we're gonna roll? Okay, fantastic. Thank you. It's
going to the Looney Tunes. I want to, since that's what brought me here, was MeTV is a network just like NBC, ABC, CBS, anybody. They're a network.
Right.
They're owned by the Weigel family out of Chicago. Done a fantastic job of filling in these dot channels that we all got thrown into when we went to digital television, which is about to go away again. And now we're going straight IP, and we're going to have a whole lot more to offer people over the air. But in that interim, the number one network in the United States is MeTV. It has,
really?
Oh yeah, it's the number one channel for dot channels, has the most viewership, the biggest penetration. It's in every market. There's not a market it's not in.
Wow.
And to have it was a real coup because we're not the biggest station in town, just like you.
Right.
So we have to battle the big boys all the time when trying to get these networks. And MeTV has just been a wonderful thing, and they've really listened to the people. For the first time now, they're starting to venture into some new modern shows that reflect the old, like your Looney Tunes Daily show that they're starting out.
Right.
And then we have a retro show on Sunday afternoons where they go find people with memorabilia. But before that, we've never strayed anywhere other than Bonanza, Rifleman, the classic shows over and over and over.
Right.
And people are saying now that they don't want the network to change, but they would like to experience more of what they had in the boomer age. So they just recently introduced the Looney Tunes, and it has been remarkable. We started with the Flintstones last year in prime Fringe at 6 o'clock, and it has just snowballed since then. And people they're buying the T-shirts like crazy. You'd think it was brand new.
How hopeful are you, Dr. Fry, that this will lead to a resurgence of original shows being produced that harken back to that value set? Or is that simply something that's outdated?
Never happened.
Why not?
A lot of people in Hollywood said there would never be another Western produced 20 years ago. And we definitely, in the scheme of things, when 90% of the movies in the 70s and 60s were all being produced as Westerns, now it's less than 5%. So you just have things that come into style and come out. When Star Wars happened, everything kind of generated toward that style of production. So it's up to what the people want and what they're looking for. And society is changing, but right now I think shows that will help us meld together. I don't really agree with a lot of the new modern shows that are shoving one lifestyle particularly down your throat.
Don't get me started on that.
I think a uniform, even kind of like This Is Us, which I really have only watched it a couple times, but it's very broad.
Right.
And all these shows that are really reaching out and saying there's this, and this, and we all have to do together.
But you mentioned the fact that it is the most popular network, the most penetration. Does that not signal that we want more programming?
No, it shows you who's
of this
watching
nature?
television. Because if you go to the statistics of who actually watches
Great
television,
observation.
it's
Yeah.
us. Okay,
Yeah.
my kids don't watch television. My grandkids don't even know what it is.
Right.
You know, they
Right.
have no idea. They
Right.
really do not. I
Right.
mean, it's crazy. They have done nothing but grow up watching the apps.
Wow. So what does this bode, all of this, for the future of television and the media?
If you like Bonanza, you're probably gonna have another solid 10 to 15 years of being able to watch these old classic shows. But after that, I think they'll just be part of a VHS collection on
An archives
Yeah.
somewhere. Wow.
You know, because we'll eventually die, and we're that generation that is enjoy this. And the only reason our kids come over and sit down and watch it with us is because they like being with us, watching something we enjoy.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but as far as on their own, never turn it on.
Wow. For folks that do not know, for whatever reason, how can they catch WLFT, MeTV, Antenna TV? How do they go about doing that, Dr. Fry?
Antenna TV and MeTV are two networks that are available in every market in the United States, including here in Baton Rouge. And they're offered free over the air, which I encourage everyone to cut the cord and get real. And because especially in these times of money, you need to be smart, and it is tough out there. So if you can get free entertainment, take it.
And on top of that, not only is it free entertainment, but it's family-oriented entertainment. One of the things that has endeared WLFT to me is that on occasion when we'll have people over at the house and there are any number of generations all sitting together and television's on, watching, being entertained. If it's on WLFT, it doesn't matter what the show is. I don't have to worry about anyone in the room being uncomfortable because of what's in this scene, that scene, or the other scene. If that means anything to you and sounds like something you would like to partake in, well, I encourage you to watch. When you're not watching the Clarence Bug Show
There you
or
go.
Pelican TV,
Right.
then feel free.
And you guys got a good lineup. It's
Well,
a
thank
great
you.
station.
Thank you.
I
Thank you,
like
Dr.
Ben
Fry.
or Kurt, and it's good. Yeah.
We appreciate that. That being said, my time is up and I have got to go. But this day, just like any other, I give it to you. You're right. America, we're not perfect. But doggone it, for this old boy's money, it's still the best there is, and God knows there is no place else on his green earth that I'd rather be. Speaking of the good Lord, you realize he loves you, right? And I hope you know, even if it's in just the smallest of terms, that I do too. Then again, there ain't a doggone thing you can do about either one. Take care of yourselves. Let's take care of each other. We'll see you Monday. God bless.